All right. Hi, everybody. My name is Ray Rothrock, and Steve and Allison are long friends. Steve was the best man at my wedding, so
Oh, wow.
it's a small world.
It is a small world.
It's a very small world. Anyway, I live up on Granada Court, up the hill here.
And we're still friends.
Well, but I did have to move away because I used to live around the
That's
corner.
true. That's true.
But, I'm a member of the Emergency Planning, Emergency Preparedness Committee here in town. I moved here in '97. I joined the committee in '99, so I've been doing this a long time. Been through a lot of cycles, a lot of volunteers. I'm also a member of the WPV-Ready preparedness team, and I'm sort of on the communications technology side. And I'm just gonna, just a couple of high things. First of all, after 9/11, DHS organized a national training system that you can do online of if you want to participate in these things, what to be trained up and what to learn, and there's all kinds of layers and what have you. We abide by that here. And one of the reasons why you want to know at least a little bit about it is that if an emergency occurred and the town declared an emergency, someone will be the incident commander, and that's the boss. And they'll arbitrate everything. Well, how do they know what's going on? Well, that's where communications comes in. The second thing, so that's CPC, DHS, and the third thing is communications. The first thing when an emergency occurs is you want to know what's going on. You're hungry for information, you don't know. First thing to do is check the television if it's working, if you still have one of those. Streaming services don't necessarily have local service. Go to the internet, right? If it's still working, you'll be good there. The cellular service, if it's a serious emergency, probably is either totally jammed or it's down. They're supposed to have emergency generators. The law says 24 hours, most of them run for an hour or two, and then they run out of fuel. So, in a real serious emergency, when the phones are down, the internet's down, maybe you'll have some communication. One of the things we did here in Portola Valley 10 years ago, as Vicki nicely pointed out, we're on the other side of 280. Our incident commander is probably down in Redwood City. There may be a local one here, but the main person will be in Redwood City. And if the highways are closed, we're on our own. In fact, they tell us at the EPC, the town needs to be prepared to stand on its own for 7 days. 7 days and 6 nights. That's a long time to be alone. So having enough water, food, medicine, those essential things are really important to have them handy, near your bag or whatever. But stay home probably is the smartest thing to do unless your house is burning down. And try to focus on communications. And that's what I'm going to talk about today. So the first thing we did, about 10 years ago, we stood up an AM radio station. You've seen these signs when you go to the airports, dial 1610 for airport parking. Well, we have one of those in town. It's on 1680. We've got several antennas around. We change it here and there. But this is just it's called a lunchbox radio. I got it for sitting on airplane seats. American Express sent it to me. But it's a very simple AM radio, AM FM radio. I like it because it's big. You know, it can be a doorstop, believe it or not, and it's waterproof. I can go in the pool, pull it out, and be fine. And it'll play very loud. But that's our AM broadcast. It plays 7 by 24. This 30-second message, and if something were to happen, then we can change that message pretty much instantly. It's a USB stick to do any programming, and off we go. If the internet's up, we can do it remotely. But anyway, the point is, hopefully, if an emergency is declared, we'll start to put out information about stay put, or if it were a fire, where to evacuate to, or where to, just information to help you decide for yourself what to do in an emergency. So there's a whole bunch of volunteers. Vicki didn't get into it much, but the WPV-Ready group, I don't know, it's 100 now, maybe 75 total in people that are trained between Portola Valley and Woodside. Each town has an emergency preparedness committee, which ours is 11, I think. Is Vic here yet? I don't see him. Vic joined it a couple of years ago. And over time, these things have, kind of get some momentum in life of their own. And so we decided to build some two-way radio networks in town. And there's several different layers. I'll just briefly, the layers, first layer is AM radio. It's broadcast from town to you. The second layer is called a GMRS. It's a General Mobile Radio Service, the FCC. Anyone can get a license. You should get a license. It's free or $10 or something. but it's good for a family in a house. It's a two-way radio. I'll show a little bit about that in a second. The third layer is a digital network that we built between the towns, and that's our command network. We pass information, we can pass faxes, images, emails, whatever. The good news about that, after 9/11, documenting stuff really helps. You get paid by the government, you get reimbursement for things, but most importantly, you can learn as you look through those things. And the final thing is the amateur radio network, which has been around for 100 years in this nation. And there's a pretty good crowd of ham radio operators in town. I grew up in Texas and tornado land, and I got interested in ham radio to be a tornado spotter. So I'd go out in my car and they'd tell me to go to an intersection or a hill, and I would go with my binoculars and I would watch the tails come in. That's what got me into this whole thing. WPV's sells radios that do all of the things I just mentioned, ham, GMRS, and the digital. This is a simple radio. They're all pretty much the same. I'm not going to demonstrate or anything unless you want me to play with it, but the network is quite good. We have multiple repeaters in town. They're hooked together. And we have a digital repeater system, and we have a GMRS repeater system. So it's all, oh great, here we go. Now I've got reinforcements. Fix here. So that's really what it is. So there is a website that has a lot of radio information. If you like to know that sort of thing. Radio.
Purchase that radio if you want.
Yeah, radio.rothrockfamily.com is my little website. The town also has a page with a lot of information. I forget exactly how you get there. You have to kind of hunt for it. You can go to the search bar and type radio. There's a whole bunch of information. And the WPV CERT website's got a bunch of information, including how to get these radios. This is a pretty high-end radio, about $250. The cheap radios are $99. Really, everyone should have one. Put it on GMRS. You turn it in an emergency, you can turn it on, somebody's there, maybe they are, maybe they aren't. In an emergency, a declared emergency, it will be live. There will be a person in charge of the radio frequencies. And you will hear them saying things like, this is Ray at Town Center. I'm net control. If you have unless it's an emergency, I'm just gonna go through the neighborhoods and call out and see if anybody needs anything. Point of that, we can also communicate with the town officials. So if there's a house burning down, if an ambulance is needed, or if a tree is falling across a road and it's blocking, we can get that information to the authority. We're not first responders necessarily. We're not the fire department. We're not the sheriff, but we work very closely with them, providing a big network of volunteers and radios. It makes one of them. So that's the communication. We are very sophisticated in this town. You can imagine this town's full of engineers. And doctors. Just a little. When we started putting all this together about 10 or 12 years ago, I just went out to the FCC license site and pulled out and said we have 4 times as many licensed radio people in this town as the national per capita.
Wow.
So we have a lot of talent, and there's a lot of wires and radios
And the
around.
problem could be, frankly, confusion sometimes,
Yeah.
because we got
Too many.
so many people on these radios at the same time. So I don't know if you want to comment on
Well,
this Ray, at all, in
that-
terms of what is the primary source they should be going to.
Well, I was saying, if you're just a house waiting for information, go to GMRS. If it's an emergency, the network will be activated. There will be a net control person identifying themselves as I'm in charge. So sit tight unless it's an emergency, and they'll occasionally, we have a whole protocol how this goes, and we have run tests, not as often as we should. But that's
We
just.
actually had a real life use of those during the flood, when the
Oh, right.
first
yeah.
storm
Yeah,
happened,
the
because
storms
they
and-
activated CERT, because a lot of people hadn't
Yeah.
gotten sandbags, and,
And we went on air and told them where to get them, and that's right. That's
Yeah.
exactly right. Vicki.
yeah, I mean, it was incredibly useful.
What?
We went on air on
There
15.
was something on 1980 transmitting, but they're two-way radio.
1980
People's-
or 1680?
That's 1680.
Yeah.
What I said. 1680.
Yeah.
No, 1980's out. It's 1680. Yeah, they went on the two-way radios to say, where can I get help? I need sandbags. I need this. I need that.
And we were out of sand,
Yeah.
so we ended up, all of us coming to Portola Valley, because there was no point in
Because
standing
one
on
side
the
was
other
out of
side with no sand,
There
yeah.
you go. We got more sand than anybody else. Too. Anyway, so it's a hobby of mine. It's a lot of fun. There's a lot of people. I've installed a lot of GMRS equipment for people in town, so you don't have to be an expert. All you gotta do is just make the investment, and we'll help you put an antenna up, so you'll have good coverage. And that's kind of our story.
What does GMRS stand for?
General Mobile Radio Service. It's, the FCC defines services. We use amateur service and all the professional services. And GMRS is a fairly short range, can be pretty high power, so it'll penetrate and get distance around here pretty well. We're in the hills. We've had to put up multiple repeaters because of these hills and valleys. It gets blocked very easily.
It is true, you know, everything goes down in an emergency. We were in Manhattan, lived in Manhattan in 9/11, and
Oh.
everything, internet was down, broadcast television was down, you couldn't use your cell phone, you couldn't use your landline. The only thing you could get was the radio.
Yeah.
And so,
Yeah, the ham guys they're getting better and better over time. In fact, in Hurricane Katrina, the DHS system fell apart and they used all the ham guys. They can actually call you up and say, you're drafted for 3 days and come into they did. It worked out very well. Because we play in hobby and multiple radios. If this one doesn't work, I got another one, you know, that kind of thing. So we practice. Trick is to practice. Be prepared. Have that bag and have your go bag. Have particularly your medicines because you're going to be alone. Be prepared to have radio, charge batteries or extra batteries, and stay home.
I
and
got
try-
lots of batteries.
There you go.
My wife. Tell me, right
Yeah.
now.
And
Have you mentioned,